Hey everybody, we're here for Bookends, the sports gaming podcast powered by STN Sports. We took Bookends on the road this week. A little bit of changed it up a bit. We're here at the beautiful El Cortez Hotel downtown. It's the longest licensed casino downtown. It's trademarked, the El Cortez is, and it's just fun to be here. It's an STN Sports book, and I think you look around and it's been recently renovated. It's beautiful. It's got some of the history of Vegas and some of the nuances that everybody loves about Vegas, and also some of the new kind of cool features. So we're excited to be here for STN Sports. As usual, I'm Chucky. This is Jason McCormick, our Vice President of Racing Sports, and we're sitting here with Patrick, Director of Gaming Operations here at the El Cortez. So we're excited to be here, Patrick.
We're excited to have you here.
It's always a lot of fun to kind of talk sports and be out at one of our sister properties, and to be here at the El Cortez, again, such a beautiful property and such a signature here in Vegas and downtown Vegas, and just the history that this property has. And to talk a little sports, it's always a lot of fun, right, Jay?
Yeah, before we get talking sports, though, I'd like to go in, just, Patrick, can you give us a history of this kind of building and the property? I mean, obviously the renovation that just happened, I remember walking here and it was almost like a small cave, dark and smoky, and it's absolutely unbelievable what they've done with the property here. Just give us a little bit of the brief history and then what you guys did in the remodel.
Yeah. Well, we've been around since 1941, so I know you weren't here, but our owner, he was born that year too. So, it's been around forever. Really pioneered after Jack Don took over in the 60s. Then Kenny and his team bought it 2008, and have just kind of, made the world since then. Recently, we just did a $20 million expansion. This is this whole room we're sitting in, this new stage we're sitting in, this new bar. It's just really taken over, become a cornerstone downtown if we weren't already that. But down here we have the ShowBar, which we're on. This is the screens behind us used for sports. We do live entertainment here. We do music videos, backpack videos, new school videos, everything under the sun, and that goes out to the whole casino. So it creates a whole new vibe here at night. Very interesting to be here.
I think we're excited to be here, to be up on stage here, and it's just fun to kind of look out at the casino and just kind of see the history of this property and everything that's been done recently. I mean, it looks amazing. I mean, when I walked in, the first thing I said was, wow. It was fun kind of walking in, though, and seeing all the pictures of kind of the history of Vegas, some of the stars that have been here, and just some of the changes that have taken place. But what you get here is you get some of the new, but you get a lot of the old, which is kind of vintage Vegas, which I think is great.
Yeah, we got all the vintage here. I mean, we got all the icons hanging here on High Limit with Jackie Gone and Kenny and Bugsy, and we have our history hallway over there, pictures galore. Partnered with the Mob Museum on that, so that kind of becomes, kind of just a leadway down to our. We still have coin machines over here.
We heard him as we walked in. Jay Knight, he says, is this the coin area? So it was kind of cool. And we have vintage here now. We have history now. We've got Kenny and Joe here in the audience here kind of watching. So we really appreciate you guys inviting us out here today to bring Bookends on the road. We've had a lot of fun with this podcast over the last several years, and we make it informal. We want to make it fun and kind of informational and educational for our guests, and letting them know that the El Cortez is an STN Sportsbook, and everything that we have to offer, you get down here as well, which is really kind of a cool thing for us.
One of the things that I think is cool is, we Las Vegas locals coming down here, and I don't think, you try to maybe avoid the Strip and not go down there, but to be able to come downtown, for those people that haven't been downtown in a long time, we're between Ogden and Fremont Street on 6th Street. The restaurants that we have here, Siegel's, morning, breakfast, night, absolutely a lot of stuff going on. The prime rib special at Siegel's I know is hot. And then as I'm looking here, I think one of the coolest logos for a noodle bar, Hot Nudes. It's got a red light district feel to it. But just talk about some of the restaurants, some of the specials. I know you guys got something going on Thanksgiving at Siegel's as well. Give us what's the reason to come down to El Cortez from a restaurant standpoint.
Oh yeah, well Siegel's is our 24-hour restaurant on the weekend. Serves prime rib 24/7, $19.95. Still going there. Hot News is our new restaurant, new shop. They got a lot of different options. Same owners and cooks from Chinglish, the river out up there. We just put in a Starbucks a little over a year ago. We also own Eureka, chain restaurant across the street, and a sushi shop. So those are all part of the El Cortez family, which is, it's just become a whole new ballgame now.
And we were talking about it as I came up on the ShowBar here, and I hadn't seen it when I was walking through the pit, but the actual beverage cart in the pit for easy access to your beer when you're playing table games. Explain that to me, and what does that mean to a guest playing table games here at El Cortez?
You can thank Kenny Epstein for that idea. And he wanted to be the fastest beer in town. There's nothing worse when you're playing and you want to wait, 10, 20 minutes sometimes for a drink. If you want to drink beer, you can, whether sometimes it doesn't always work out for us staff, but it's the fastest beer in town, and we'll serve it right to you. Table side on ice, and not better than beer on ice.
I like to play from the old West. It used to be the fastest draw. Now it's the fastest beer in town. So I kind of like the fastest pour. So that's pretty cool. I think the one thing for me with El Cortez, though, which is so great, is even myself being in the industry for a while, I walk to the sports book and everybody knows your name. It has that Cheers feel to it when you walk into the casino or walk to a bar where it's so personalized, where you're just not a number, you're a name. And I think that just echoes volumes through the property, and guess why they love coming here is because you are a person when you walk in the door.
We're a family operated place, and it's staying that way. So that's how we try to treat our customers, which is a little different than some of the big boys around town. So.
Well, again, we're excited to be here for our sports betting podcast, Bookends, or we're excited that our STN Sports book is part of the El Cortez family, and it's going to be fun. I mean, we're going to jump into football and kind of talk a little college football to start with, and I heard you're going to stick around with us for that first segment, so that's going to be great. So we're going to get right into it. First, I have to put my glasses on, so that'll age me a little bit, but... All right, we're gonna start looking at some of the games first from last week. We'll do a quick recap of some of the games last week. I think one of the games that really stood out to me, Jay, was Texas Tech with their big win at home against BYU. They won 29-7 in that game. Number 2, Indiana, squeaking by Penn State, 27-24, which was a good outcome for our side of the counter. Maybe getting Penn State to win outright would have been better. The late backdoor cover by Purdue against number 1 Ohio State, losing 34-10. Again, a good outcome for our side of the counter. Number 9 Oregon not covering against number 20 Iowa, winning 18-16. And then some of the games that were really good for the guests. Number 3 A&M beating number 22 Missouri, 38-17. Number 16 Vandy got the late cover in overtime. The line hovered around 6.5. They ended up winning that game over Auburn and getting the cover. Number 4, Alabama, 10.5-point favorite, won by 11 against LSU, 20-19. And then one of the games that was really good for the guests, UNLV winning and covering 42-10 against Colorado State.
Yeah, from my standpoint, you talked about the toe tap by the Indiana Hoosiers to pull out that late victory of Penn State. It looked like everything was going Penn State's way to be able to pull that upset, and then that receiver with the close call at the end, Fernando Mendoza, another pass, probably putting himself in the lead for that Heisman Trophy race with that epic comeback down the
I'd say Heisman race and potentially maybe the first quarterback off the draw or off the board in the April draft.
The other big game we talked about was the morning game, BYU heading to Texas Tech, College Game Day heading down to Texas Tech, and we talked about College Game Day and what they had meant so far to the home team.
Don't get too far ahead of yourself yet. We're going to talk about that game.
But they did it yet again with Utah beating up Cincinnati the week before. Texas Tech comes in as a 10.5. Game win actually all the way up to 13 against the higher ranked BYU team. So being that road team, having to travel to a game day site has not been a method of success. Pat, I know you're in the college football and will occasionally make a proprietary wager in college football. Was there anything that what came out of this past week's college football that maybe surprised you, shocked you, or just was something that you expected?
Penn State covered in that 14. I thought it was, I had a number. I thought it was bad. That was kind of their Super Bowl after, get their coach. Kind of the, same thing that happens to LSU and things like that. We'll probably talk about that game, but just spot situations in college are just so big. I like to see as a better notice on the other side of the counter.
I think this year especially, you've seen so much parity in college football that from every single week you see some of these upsets occur, or some of these smaller schools that are competing with the big boys that really hang around in these games and get that late cover where a lot of games kind of teeter on that number. So college football for probably the second or third straight year now with this new format has been overall good because of the parity across the board from top to bottom.
I'm just glad the rankings aren't as meaningful as they used to be, so I hope that still kind of goes away.
I think we're glad too. So. But anyway, we're going to dive right into this week's games. There's some really good games this week to look at, starting with number 19, Clemson. Clemson traveling to number 19, ranked Louisville. The Ville opened up in this game 3, went to 3.5, back down to 3. Total in this game is 49.5. Louisville comes off a loss last week. A couple of interesting kind of betting trends in this game to look at, Jay. Clemson 4-10 against the number their last 14 games. They've gone over 4 of their last 6 games. However, they are 6-1 against the number in their last 7 games against Louisville, and 8-1 straight up in their last 9 games against Louisville. Louisville comes in 10-2 straight up in their last 12 games, but 0-6 their last 6 games at home against the number.
Well, the devastating loss traveling to Cal for Louisville, and we've seen this throughout the ACC. At the beginning of the season, there were so many high hopes for the Georgia Techs, the Miamis, and just week after week, we've seen them kind of drop off the table and now have to fight their way back to potentially get in this playoff. Obviously, a win here on the road at Clemson would be something that they could hang their hats on, but I think both these teams are on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I mean, so late in the season now that we're seeing so many kind of really good matchups. Another we're going to look at is number 9, Notre Dame. At number 23, Pitt, and as you alluded to earlier, this is college game day right now, so you can throw some stuff out for that game.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, if you're liking the home dog, I think this is a game you got to circle, maybe even circle it twice and circle it 3 times. College game day is going to be in Pittsburgh this week. College game day, the home team for College game day is now 8-2 against the point spread. I talked about it last week. Only Oregon messed that up. Oregon beat Penn State at Penn State when College game day was there, and then Oregon lost to Indiana when College game day was at Oregon. Other than that, the College game day has been rolling. Georgia beat Ole Miss. We saw Vandy knock off Missouri. Utah rolled 2 weeks ago, and then Texas Tech this week. So this is the first time we've seen a kind of a big underdog, with Pittsburgh being a 10.5-point underdog to Notre Dame. Pittsburgh's got a laundry list of guys on the injured list, but they are 7-2 straight up. They're 7-2 against the point spread. You talk about a team playing potentially their Super Bowl in referring to the way Penn State played last week. This is Pittsburgh's Super Bowl. I mean, you got Notre Dame coming to town. You got a chance to go knock off a Goliath. Game day is going to be there. So for me, this is definitely one of those look at that home dog, see if you can take those 10.5 points.
I really love that game days kind of bounced around, where they've had games at Texas Tech and they've been at Pittsburgh right now. Both teams come in 7-2. I think Notre Dame's actually ticked up to 11-point favorite now. Notre Dame 14-6 against the number of their last 20 games. They've gone under, however, 4 of their last 5 games. They're 7-0 straight up in their last 8 games against Pitt. Pitt is 5-0 against a number of their last 5 games, and the total's gone over in 4 of Pitt's last 6 games against Notre Dame. Just a few betting trends to look at. What do you think about this game, Patrick?
I know we'll probably need Pitt on the books.
We probably will, right?
I might enjoy them as well.
All right. Another game we're going to look at, number 11, Oklahoma, 7-2. At number 4, Alabama, 8-1. Bama, this game is open to 7-point favorite. Bama's now a 6-point favorite, so the numbers come down a bit. Total is 46. A couple of interesting betting trends before we get some more comments here. Total's gone under at 8 of Oklahoma's last 10 games. Oklahoma's 7-2 straight up in their last 9 games. 4-1 straight up in their last 5 games against Bama. 5-2 against the number of their last 7 games on the road. Bama 8-0 straight up in their last 8 games, and 8-0 against the number of their last 8 home games, Jay.
Yeah, this one is one of the ones that I have circled as well. Talk about Oklahoma on the road. They are 3-0 against the point spread on the road. They did play the one neutral site game against Texas in the Red River rivalry where they got beat up at Texas. They lost a home game to Ole Miss by 8. But they had one of the biggest games of the week last week. Going on the road at Tennessee and able to come out of Tennessee with a win was a monster victory. Got kind of Oklahoma to kind of stay at the top of this thing, stay in this race. But I feel like, and I said it before, Cinderella is about to strike midnight and the slipper's about to come off. because they're heading this Alabama team. We all know Alabama lost that opener to Florida State, and since then they've been on an absolute roll. They're 5-0 against the spread at home. They've been playing some close games, but at home they've been absolutely fantastic. And last year they lost to this Oklahoma Sooner team 24-3. So you're going to have a motivated team at home coming off a loss to this new SEC opponent this year. This is a game I think Alabama's had circled, and I expect to see Kalen DeBoer have this team up and ready on Saturday.
I totally agree with you, but I'm a little surprised that the number actually came down. We did a touchdown. We saw an instant kind of take on this game, went down to 6, but I agree with you. I think we're going to see this number start to tick back up by the game time on Saturday.
Alabama hasn't been the Crimson Tide that we all know from the Nick Saban 4 and 5 years ago, where they just roll people up and they steamroll wins by 20, 30. At halftime, they're up 20, and then they coast to wins. This team has kept teams in game. We saw Vanderbilt go down there and stay in a 14-14 tie till halftime, and then Alabama was able to pull away in the second half. LSU was in that game with them last week until kind of late in that fourth quarter,
right, yeah.
To pull them away. So Alabama's allowed teams to stay in games, and when you allow teams to stay in games, that normally is a recipe for disaster, because you're not going to be able to pull those out all the time. They've been able to pull them out so far at this point in time, but I think this is one of these weeks where Oklahoma on the road win at Tennessee, now back-to-back having to go to Tennessee and then to Alabama. You talked about the schedule makers not doing you any favors and finding those spots. This doesn't feel like a good spot for the Oklahoma Sooners. Back-to-back road games, and on the second tail end of that is an Alabama team that you beat last year and you beat handily.
Yeah, and then again, the last stat I'll give you is Alabama 8-0 against the number their last 8 home games. So something to think about. Another interesting game is number 10 Texas. Yes, Texas has gotten back into the top 10. They're 7-2. They've won 4 straight. At number 5 Georgia. Georgia 8-1. They've won 5 straight as well. This number opened 6.5. It's now down to 6. Total 48.5. Texas just 2-9 against the number of their last 11 games. They've gone over 4 of their last 6 games. They're 13-2 straight up in their last 15 games on the road, but that hasn't been at Georgia, of course. Georgia 4-1 against the number of their last 5 games. Georgia at home 19-1 straight up in their last 20 games, and 8-1 straight up in their last 9 games against an opponent from the Southeast Conference. So a lot of stats and a lot of trends really favor the Bulldogs in this game.
Yeah, I'll start with Texas. Obviously, you talked about them having the 2 losses and finding their way back into that playoff race. If they didn't book that opening game at Ohio State against the number 1 team in the country, we're talking about a 1-loss team in conference at Florida in a tough game. But for me, specifically in this game, is talking about the Texas Longhorns on the road. Their 4 losses on the road will take away the neutral site game against Oklahoma. There are 4 games on the road. We lost at Ohio State, lost at Florida to 29-21. But the other 2 road games is where I'm kind of focused on. They won at Kentucky 16-13, and they won at Mississippi State 45-38. So not particularly strong SEC opponents that Texas has somewhat struggled with on the road. So the struggle at Kentucky, the struggle at Mississippi State, to have any confidence in this Texas team that they're going to be able to go to Georgia and find another level of effort.
One of the toughest places to play in the country.
And Georgia, again, we talked about the Alabama team being a team that's allowed teams to hang around. Georgia has not been the Georgia Bulldogs that we've seen over the last several years. They've allowed some teams to hang around. They had a 24-20 win against Florida. We saw them lose at home 21-24 to Alabama. They did play a close game on the road at Tennessee, 44-41, a game they won in overtime. Just 2 weeks ago, in this same location at home, they were down 12 points to Ole Miss entering the fourth quarter. It was or 9 points, 43-35. They ended up winning that game 35-26, scoring 13-0 in the fourth quarter. So again, Georgia has allowed teams to hang around, and they've been good in the second half. So if you like Texas in this game, you think that Texas can get up, maybe take them in the first half. Play Texas in the first half. Maybe they hang around in the first half because Georgia has found a way to win these games late, and Texas has found a way to kind of stay in games and not play good football. So I have a feeling that maybe Texas hangs around early and Georgia pulls away in the second half.
Well, this is one of those weeks where we've already talked about 4 games, and there's really good games, but the slate continues. I know a few weeks ago we had just about 3 games that we really talked about that were kind of marquee, but I think you can go into another 3 or 4 games, which we'll touch on briefly as well. You've got number 2 Cincy at 7-2, hosting hosting 6-3 Arizona. Cincy opened 6 in this game; it's now up to 6.5. Arizona just 2-4 against the number their last 6 games. Cincy 5-2 against the number their last 7 games. Total's gone over for Cincy 6 of their last 8 games. They're 7-1 straight up in their last 8 games and 5-0 straight up at home.
Yeah, I think it's tough when you start to talk about these teams that are on the outside looking in. Obviously, we saw Cincinnati, their season where they were on a high, and then they went to Utah and got their doors blown off at Utah. And now you start to wonder, this team is on the outside looking in for the playoff, and do bowl games really mean anything anymore, and our team's going to even want to go to bowl games. So when you're on this outside looking in, specifically for these two teams, the chase to find their way into that top 12 is probably gone. So where is that motivation to finish at the top of the conference? Where's that motivation to get to the bowl game? I don't know that it's there for anybody. And that's when I start to look at these teams. I start to wonder about defensive motivation. And these teams that are now on the outside looking in, how much do they get up defensively, and do we look at these teams that are in the mid-tier?
But they can be spoilers. I mean, a lot of these kids can take pride, and there's the transfer portal too. You don't know how it's going to affect some of these guys with the coaching changes and where they might be playing next year. So this is still that opportunity to showcase your talent.
Yeah, and showcase your talent is normally on the offensive side of the football team. It takes a defensive effort, a core defensive effort to keep teams down. When you start to see these teams, I'll call them in the team ranked 15 to 25. Look for those teams to put up big points, trying to showcase those offenses. But I wonder the defensive motivation in some of those games.
I just think Cincy could put up some points. I know they've been good at home lately. The last 2 years.
They've been really good at home. Yep. Another game, which isn't maybe a marquee game, but it has been kind of the script has flipped, and that's number 2 and undefeated at 10-0 Indiana, who hosts Wisconsin this year, and it's hard to believe Indiana is a 30-point favorite in this game.
Well, when you look at Wisconsin's offense, you know why Indiana's a 30-point
I know, but I mean,
favorite.
think about it. I mean, you rewind a few years, and the script was flipped. So it's really different this year. I think you look at Indiana, as I mentioned, they're undefeated, 10-0. They've gone over 12 of their last 16 games against Wisconsin. They've gone over 4 of their last 5 games. Wisconsin, though, has had some success historically against Indiana. They're 8-3 against the number. Their last 11 games against the Hoosiers, and 10-2 straight up in their last 12 games against Indiana. So really a flipping of the script here, and Indiana has a chance to really pay back for all those years. Mendoza's been great. They're 10-0. They're number 2 in the country right now, and they are a whopping 30-point favorite against the Badgers.
For me, it goes back to Cignetti, the coach for Indiana. Indiana had that, we'll call it down game last week. The sneak by Penn State, felt what it was going to be like to potentially lose that game. And when you have a coach like Cignetti that's trying to bring a program to new heights, you can't have multiple games like that. So I think for me, the expectation that Indiana has a big bounce back effort, kind of the way we see, I'm going to show my hand here when I talk about the Detroit Lions, but when the Detroit Lions lose, Dan Campbell has a way to get that team re-fired up to go beat the crap out of somebody. And I feel like that's the Indiana Hoosiers. When they play a tight game, this coaching staff is too good. This offensive team is too good. Mendoza's too good. This is where they're going to go and say, man, we can't have another game like that. We can't allow teams to stay in the game. They're going to go and try and put up a big number on Wisconsin here.
Yeah, I think they're on a mission this year, and they really want to prove something. But I'm in a talkative mood today. There's so many great college games. I'm going to keep talking about some college games. So I think there's a lot of interesting games this week. This is one of those weeks where you've got a good 10 games that are really fun. TCU at number 12, BYU. BYU comes in at 8-1, comes off a loss at Texas Tech last week. They're only a 4.5-point favorite here, down from 6. Total is 52.5. TCU comes in 2-4 against the number. Their last 6 games, they've gone under 5 of their last 7 games. However, they're 10-3 straight up in their last 13 games. They're 4-2 though against the number of their last 6 games against BYU. BYU comes in though 7-3 against the number this year, 10-1 straight up, 5-0 straight up in their last 5 games at home, and they're 7-1 straight up in their last 8 games against an opponent from the Big 12 Conference.
I think all you have to say here is BYU went to Texas Tech last week and got absolutely drilled. And so we talk about that bounce back effort. We talk about, where is your season going to go? How do they find their way back into that playoff? We'll see what kind of team comes to play this week in BYU.
I'm going to talk about a game in our own backyard too, and that's 5-4 Utah State that travels here to take on 7-2 UNLV. I know that our guests love backing UNLV this year, and for the most part, they've been very successful. UNLV's up to a 6-point favorite right now. The game opened 4.5. The total is a whopping 71.5, and I think that speaks volumes. Like UNLV offensively, yay Rebels. UNLV defensively, not so good. I'm going to put in the perspective a little bit this year. So this year, they've scored total in their games 69, 59, 53, 79, 80, 48 against Wyoming, 99 in the game against Air Force combined, 87 in the game against Boise, 75 in the game against New Mexico, and 52 at Colorado State. But you can do the math and average it out, and that's why the total in this game is 71.5.
And when they played last year, they scored 84 points combined in a 50-34 matchup. The one thing for me is specifically about this total. Utah State has been 0-4 on the road. However, 2 of those road games, they took on the big boys. They went to Texas A&M, where they lost 22-44. So they put 22 points up at Texas A&M, and then they went to Vandy and they put up 35 points at Vanderbilt in the 35-55 loss. So they haven't been afraid to travel on the road. They're 0-4 on the road, but again, the road to UNLV with the defense. We talked about it last week. UNLV makes good offenses great, and they make bad offenses good. Colorado State, I guess we couldn't qualify as even a bad offense to get the points that they needed to cover last week against UNLV. Maybe UNLV found something on the defensive side. I think it was more of Colorado State just didn't have the offense to take advantage of it. Utah State.
We are not advising anyone to bet under in this game.
Utah State has an offense. And that's why you see this total where it's at and this point spread where it's at. We'll just see if the Utes can kind of take it on the road, which they've been able to do in the past.
Well, they've had some success against UNLV as well. Utah is 6-2 straight up in their last 8 games against UNLV. I think you look at UNLV, 12-2 straight up in their last 14 games. So something will have to give there. Again, this number has crept up from 4.5 to 6, but a whopping total. I did the highest total on the board at 71.5. The last game we're going to talk about is really a great game. It's 6-3 Boise at 7-2 San Diego State. San Diego State now a 3-point favorite in this game. 41.5 is the total. So you're looking at 2 teams that play much better defense than the game we just talked about with UNLV and Utah State. Boise 6-1-1 against the number of their last 8 games. They're 16-4 straight up in their last 20 games. However, they're just 3-7 against the number in their last 10 games against San Diego State. You look at San Diego State, 6-1 straight up in their last 7 games, and 4-1 against the number in their last 5 games at home.
Well, I'll talk about 2 teams that had look-aheads for this game. Boise State lost to Fresno 30-7 and then went into their bye week. So they were definitely looking to San Diego State. And San Diego State got beat 38-6 at Hawaii last week. Again, in a game that essentially meant nothing because this Boise State-San Diego State matchup is going to, crown the Mountain West essentially regular season winner. So a classic look-ahead situation for both these 2 teams. Boise State has owned this series in the past. I think they've won the last 3 matchups here. I do think San Diego State is the better team here. I think they have the better roster. They're at home. But again, can you get over that hump of being able to knock off what has just been kind of your kryptonite? And that's kind of what Boise State has been to San Diego State, has just been their kryptonite. And what I expect, you brought it up early, to potentially be a low-scoring game as we saw these offenses struggle the last couple weeks.
I think it's like the Rebels last year. Boise just experienced everything. I don't think they're any kind of
And then there's really, again, this is a really good college slate this week. I know we've talked about a lot of games, and when it comes to college football, we have to touch on to our last man standing contest. These are our signature contests, our last man standing college and pro contests. Last man standing college, there are only 5 contestants left, Jay. So, it has dwindled down almost every single week. Congratulations to you 5 that are left. The contest cards should be out now. There's a lot of big games this weekend to look at, as we touched on. It's not going to make your decision any easier, but only 5 of you guys left. So again, congratulations.
We could potentially crown a $100,000 college last man standing winner this week.
We might. I guess, too, I want to say, Patrick, thank you so much for having us out here. I know from the time that Jay and I walked in today, we both said one word, and that was wow, how impressive the property looks. We're excited to be here. If you're around the Racing Sportsbook, please stop by the book. It's out of the book manager, Sean. He's always there with a smile on his face. Wants to give you guys a great greeting and have some fun. So anything else you want to add, Patrick? But thank you again for having us out here for our sports podcast, Bookends, powered as always by STN Sports.
We appreciate you coming down and showing off the property. And we're the fully operational race book downtown, only one left. We're still doing well there, and we appreciate your partnership. And the new GAN upgrades are great. And STN is just going up and up.
I can't get over back where we're at with it at the ShowBar here. I mean, a Saturday, Sunday, Thursday night, Monday night. This looks like a pretty cool spot to be to take in the action.
Weekend, we either got live music up here, or DJ, or this is full music videos blasting. It's a different vibe down here at the Old Spot.
Yeah, Jay and I talked about maybe selling some jokes and letting people know we'd be back Saturday at 8 p.m., but it didn't work. But we're excited again about being here. And we look forward to coming back again and really promoting everything at El Cortez, STN Sports, and just having some fun downtown on this property that just looks beautiful. Again, it brings back a lot of the old Vegas and a lot of the new Vegas as well. So congratulations on all the upgrades. Just got through our little college slate and had some fun with Patrick, the director of casino ops here, and we had a crowd out here watching, and we're excited. We're excited to be here, and now it's time for, as our close friend Bert Cerencione likes to say, it's the big boys, pro football. So we're going to dive right into the pro football segment a little bit. First, maybe a quick recap of last week. It was a tale of kind of two different times. The morning games were phenomenal. I think one of the best morning slates we had of the year, and that was with two games that really kind of jumped off the page. One, the Buffalo Bills getting beat handily by the Miami Dolphins. Really killed all money lines, parlays, teasers. And then you had the New England Patriots, the surprise Patriots, go into Tampa and really dominate that game as well. I think you really look at Drake May right now, and he is a very talented quarterback. This team, I think, is way ahead of where we thought they would be. So morning slate, great. Afternoon slate, not so good. You had all favorites in the afternoon just dominate those games, win easy, totals go over. So great morning, ugly afternoon, Jay, but overall still a pretty good weekend in pro football.
Yeah, and you talk about that afternoon of watching Seattle destroy Arizona, the Rams roll it up. Then we move into the evening game, the Chargers absolutely kind of destroy the Steelers. And then we had this kind of suffer through a Monday night where we were anticipating Eagles, Packers, an absolutely fantastic game, and it was just an absolute dud where we suffered through a 0-0 halftime score, saw some missed field goals, some fumbles by the quarterbacks. So good start, kind of bad ending. Excited to get back into this week's thing. You talked about the upset by the Dolphins over the Bills. That was one of the bigger games in the morning for us. Killed the survivor pools, probably hurt the last man standing pools as well. But Tampa Bay was the big surprise for me last week. I talked about that this Tampa Bay team has kind of been doing it with mirrors and pulling some upsets in a soft schedule, and I was expecting that they would head down to Tampa and struggle with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off the bye week. And boy, did they not. They were able to put up some big plays. Travion Henderson, the young rookie from Ohio State, I think he had a 55-yard touchdown run and a 59-yard touchdown run to really shock the Bucs. The Bucs just weren't able to get anything going coming out of the bye week. So we'll see what happens this week, but a massive amount of respect going out to the New England Patriots for able to go on the road and win that game.
All right, before we jump into this week's games, like we always like to start the pro segment, and that's getting into some questions that have come in and kind of some hot topics. So let's get into that first before we dive into the games. So one is the New York Giants. Brian Daboll was fired as head coach, and where is our confidence level on the Giants? For me, it's still through the roof. I think you look at this Giant team, and you've got Jackson Dart. He's got 7 rushing touchdowns this year. He clearly looks like the real deal. He's got that you-know-what quality to be a quarterback in New York. I think teams like the Saints and the Steelers are kicking themselves for passing on Jackson Dart. I think you look at the rest of the talent they have there. You've got Malik Neighbors. He'll be back off the injury, a dynamic wideout. You've got Cam Scatterbo, who just added like emotion and fun, and he's talented at running back, and a young tight end in Daniel Bellinger as well. So I think they've got all the pieces there, the skill position pieces, to be really good. And on defense, hey, you've got Burns, Thibodeau, and Carter to anchor that line. So I think if this is a team that you have an opportunity as a young coach or a veteran coach to go to, you're not worried about what they have on both sides of the ball. I think the rebuild has already started. It's going to happen fast. And I think this Giants team is going to be a team that a lot of coaches are anxious to get.
I think the most important person in the New York Giants organization is the team doctor, physician, or whatever. When you talk about Neighbors being hurt, Scadaboo being hurt, I think you talked about Dart having 7 touchdowns. I think Dart's
rushing touchdowns.
I think Dart's had 7 concussions so far in this season. So keeping these guys healthy, keeping them on the field is going to be a main task in New York. The way Dart plays, and I love it. I love the way the kid plays, but it is an absolute injury waiting to happen. We saw it with the young Jaden Daniels, these quarterbacks that want to run, that pull the ball down, Josh Allen-like. You're just asking for that injury to come. And we saw it with Daniels. We see it now with Dart. He's a question mark whether he's going to play this week. Might have to turn to Jameis Winston because they don't want to go to Russell Wilson. But I do like the talent that's there. I think that this is a good job for the new coach that will step in. But they've got to be able to control Dart, teach him how to slide. Maybe he can take some lessons from Caleb Williams on how to slide. I think Caleb Williams is the best slider of all the NFL quarterbacks, a guy that takes no risk when a defender is close. But I think the New York Giants do have a good core. And the reason Dabble got fired is because they've been winning a bunch of games and losing late. So they've been in these games. They've had a chance to win these games and have collapsed late. And again, that last week, a 10-point lead over the Bears, I think with 3:26 to go, and they found a way to lose that game. And so that's why Dabble's out. Kafka will take over. But there should be some optimism for New York Giants fans.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you're right, though. You have those double-digit leads against Denver, against Dallas, and against the Bears, and you find a way to lose all those games in the fourth quarter. It doesn't bode well for your head coach. Another question that came in is offensive woes. Are we concerned at all about some of these teams on offense? And that's the Bills, the Packers, and the Broncos. I'm not overly concerned with the Bills. I think they could have gone out and maybe got a receiver at the trade deadline that really could have helped. But I still look at that team, and I think they're built for the postseason. They know what it takes to get to the next level. They haven't been able to get there yet. I'm not that concerned with the Bills at all. The next team is the Broncos. I think you look at the Broncos, still a very young quarterback in Bo Nix. I like some of the young pieces they have on offense. You look at R.J. Harvey there, Franklin, Sutton. I still think they're a very talented offensive team. They're just very young. The other team that the question came in is, are you concerned about the Packers? And my answer is absolutely yes. I think you look at this team, and they've had some really low-scoring, bad games. They have a loss against the Panthers. They have a loss against the Browns. They tied the Cowboys in that game. They scored over 40 points, but everybody scores over 40 points against the Cowboys. So I'm concerned with the Packers. They don't have that alpha dog on offense, and as you and I have talked about many times, if Josh Jacobs isn't running well and scoring, this Packer offense is not scoring. So for me, no concern about the Bills or Broncos. Big concerns about the Green Bay Packers on offense.
I have a tough time answering your question because I'm worried about all 3 of them. I mean, you can't be excited about a Denver Bronco offense that just came off playing the Raiders at home and put up 10 points and didn't look good in doing it, putting up the 10 points. The Raiders were in that game, were able to stop them. You talk about Bo Nix and the success he had in his freshman year, and he hasn't been able to find that here in the sophomore season, his second season. We've seen the struggles. J.K. Dobbins potentially going on the IR now. They're going to turn to Harvey to lead that backfield. Sutton, Mims, Franklin, they've got the guys on the back end, but one of the things you talk about, not having that alpha dog receiver, and that kind of bodes through when you talk about all 3 of these football teams questioning their offensive. The Packers, their alpha receiver was Tucker Kraft, and we saw him go on the IR last week, and it led to Christian Watson being the guy, and Romeo Doubs or Matthew Golden. Now, none of those guys have been able to take it over and be able to move the football consistently. We've talked about that with the Buffalo Bills here all season long, is who is going to be that wide receiver that steps up. Yes, they've done it occasionally. Yes, we've seen Khalil Shakir have a game here or there. We've seen Coleman have a game here or there. We've seen the tight end.
We've seen Kincaid, but he's hurt again, right? Yeah.
You know, and so it's constantly on that quarterback. It's constantly on Josh Allen and Cooks to have those big games to be able to run the football. Josh Jacobs has been the alpha dog for the Green Bay Packers, and when he's not able to get it going, they struggle on the offensive side of the football. Now, that was a good football team in the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a cold game. Neither team looked comfortable. We'll see what the Packers come with this week as they travel to New York, a team that you can normally be and get healthy against.
And I think you alluded to it. I think it will be Jameis Williams as well in this game. So they are going to make a quarterback change. It looks like the Giants for this week.
We'll be going to Winston.
Winston, I'm sorry.
But again, you talk about those three teams. Green Bay's got to travel to New York, potentially a place to get healthy. Denver is at home against Kansas City, not traditionally a team that you want to get healthy with when you're looking to get healthy on the offensive side of the football. So I'll go back to, and I'll stick with you, and I'll say that the Packers are the one that I feel struggle for, but I think all three of these teams have to find some offensive identity if we're going to see them travel in the postseason to any second game.
All right, another question that came in is MVP shakeup. Who do we think right now is the MVP? And Drake May's up there, Matt Stafford's up there, Jonathan Taylor's up there. For me, though, it's Matt Stafford. I think you look at Matt Stafford, he had the back injury coming into the season. He's been phenomenal. He has 25 TD passes. He's already surpassed what he had last year, only 2 interceptions. The team is 7-2. They're in position to potentially be the best team in the NFC. They probably should have beaten the Eagles. They lost the game in Philly late, 26-23. They've got a tough game this week against Seattle, which we'll talk about. But for me, the MVP right now is Matt Stafford.
You're wrong. Puka Nacua is an all-star talent. Devontae Adams, an all-star talent. There is some talent in that Los Angeles Rams locker room. Granted, Matthew Stafford having an exceptional season, and again, that veteran presence, it would be nice to him to take one home. But there's a lot of talent in that Ram locker room. Those two other teams that you talk about, Drake May, name the other superstars that are on that team that are making this happen for the New England Patriots.
Mike Vrabel. Maybe head coach Mike Vrabel.
Maybe Stephon Diggs, but he hasn't put up the stats. We saw Ramondre Stevenson, Travion Henderson. The New England Patriots are winning for one reason over, and that's Drake May. But I'm going to go even further, and I think it's the running back in Indianapolis. I mean, what has Taylor not done? Name the other superstars.
He's been great.
In Indianapolis. It's 3 touchdown games. What did he put up? 250 yards plus against the Falcons in Germany this past week. You can't name most of the stars that are on that Indianapolis team because there aren't any. It's a bunch of journeyman guys that are putting on their hard hat. Tyler Warren, Danny Indianapolis Jones, Alex Pierce. I mean, this team is led by Jonathan Taylor and
Michael Pittman, Josh Downs.
He is single-handedly hand them the ball and go win games for us. So for me,
he's been great.
Right now, it's a Jonathan Taylor, Drake May. Then I'll throw in Stafford, and I know the sentimentalness is there for Stafford. It would be great to see him take home an MVP on his way out. But when you get to play with Puka Nacua on one side and Devontae Adams on the other side, let alone those guys probably taking away some of your MVP votes. The other thing that's going to make it hard is, can an MVP candidate come out of Indianapolis? Probably hasn't been since the Peyton Manning days that we've been talking about the Indianapolis Colts. So they have to keep winning to keep Jonathan Taylor at the top or near the top of that MVP list.
Well, I think the second half of the season will be kind of the telltale sign to see if one of these guys really continues on that path and catches fire and carries their team. There's no question that Drake May's been tremendous. There's no question Jonathan Taylor has, and Stafford has been really good too. So anxious to see what happens with that. Really quick before we dive into the pro games this week, Last Man Standing Pro, our signature pro football contest. Only 4 contestants left. So congratulations, you 4 that are left. Tremendous job, especially this year with so many upsets and so much parity in pro football.
Yeah, still looking for that $150,000 prize, those last 4 contestants. And it's amazing that we start the college and pro on the same week, and we sit with 5 contestants in one and 4 contestants in the other. So the knockdown factor of that kind of half-liking week after week definitely shows its head. So it looks like we should be down to maybe 2-2 or 3-2 as we head into next week, or that crazy chance that we see somebody take home one of these last man standing.
It might really be a kind of a fun Thanksgiving for a couple of lucky contestants in the college and pro this year. Something to really be thankful for. All right, we're going to dive into this week's pro schedule. There are some really good games this week. I'm going to start with Tampa at 6-3, traveling to the Bills at 6-3. Both teams come off bad losses. As we talked about, Tampa lost to the Patriots, the Bills to the Dolphins. I think it's the first time in Josh Allen's tenure that he's actually looking back up at a team ahead of them, and that's New England Patriots, who had dominance before Josh Allen got to Buffalo. I think you look at the Bills. They opened up in this game a 6-point favorite. The game is now down to 5.5, total 48.5. Bills are 4-1 at home, with their only loss coming to the Patriots. The Bucs, however, are 4-1 away. They've been banged up this year with Mike Evans, Bucky Irving, Chris Godwin. They may get Irving back this week, but I don't think so. I'll give you a couple of interesting betting trends before we break this game down any further. Total's gone over in 5 of Tampa's last 7 games. They're 12-5 straight up in their last 17 games going back to last year. They've had a lot of success against Buffalo, though, going 8-1-1 their last 10 games against Buffalo against the number. They're 8-4 in their last 12 games straight up against the Bills. And the Bills have really struggled, though, of late. 2-5 against the number their last 7 games, and they've gone under 4 of their last 5 games, which is a little uncharacteristic for a Josh Allen offense.
Yeah, you brought up the total in this game, and that's the one thing that I have kind of circled in looking at this game, just because of the way that both of these teams lost in last week's games. The Bucs were actually 24-16 in first downs against the Patriots last week. They kind of controlled the clock. They were the better team on the field, but they gave up a 72-yard touchdown pass to Williams, a 55-yard touchdown run to Henderson, and then a 69-yard touchdown Henderson. So the big playability of the Patriots kind of got to the Bucs, and that's why the Bucs lost that game. And then you look at that mirror image of what happened to the Buffalo Bills down in Miami. They gave up a 38-yard touchdown pass to Waddle, a 59-yard run by A-Chain, and a 35-yard run by A-Chain. So again, the Bills gave up the big plays. The Bucs gave up the big plays. If these defenses don't get fixed on both sides, look for this total to go over and be able to bank on the Bucs and Bills both having those big plays to match each other. I look for this total to go over.
You know, the Bills are in a tough division with the Patriots right now. But the one luxury that Tampa has is that I don't think there's anybody else in the NFC South that's going to beat them this year. So I think it's a much bigger game for the Bills right now, with them still looking up at the Patriots. We're going to jump over.
You know, we always sit here it's November 12th today. We sit here in beautiful Las Vegas, and the weather that we have. One thing to remember is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers probably aren't looking forward to heading to Buffalo and entering that weather in Buffalo. So another thing that we take for granted here, that don't take for granted when you're handicapping these games, is these teams traveling to these East Coast locations. Check the weather, check the wind, check the precipitation. Those white flurry things tend to fall sometimes at this time of year, and Tampa would definitely not be looking forward to playing in the snow in Buffalo.
Very true. We're going to jump to the NFC now. The NFC North with the Bears at 6-3, who are in second place in the NFC North against the Minnesota Vikings, who are 4-5. The Vikings beat the Bears opening night, Monday night in Chicago. The Bears led in that game for 3 quarters before they just couldn't hold on. They lost that game. They have 4 fourth-quarter comebacks this year where they trailed in those games, some by double digits. They're a 3-point underdog in this game, total 48.5. Again, the Bears come in at 6-3, but they're 0-2 in the NFC North, already losing to the Vikings once and losing to the Lions. So looking at some betting trends here, Bears 5-2 against the number of their last 7 games, 6-1 straight up in their last 7 games, but this is where it gets ugly. 3-8-1, against the number their last 12 games against the Vikings, 1-8 straight up their last 9 games against the Vikings.
Yeah, and you talked about going to Minnesota, and we saw Minnesota pull an upset 2 weeks ago off their bye, go to Detroit, able to win that game, and kind of had to take a step back because Minnesota had looked so bad on defense against the Chargers and the Eagles, giving up those big plays. And then they went into Detroit, pulled the upset, and then they hosted the Ravens last week. Again, we've talked about this Ravens team with their backs up against the wall from the start of the season with Lamar Jackson out. Their power rating is growing. The defense is getting healthy. And I felt like the Vikings ran into kind of that wounded dog that the Ravens are, knowing that the Ravens have to keep winning games. And now it feels like the Vikings are the wounded dog in this game. The Bears have been able to find a way to be the inferior team week after week after week and then pull these games out late. I feel like Minnesota has to find a way to attack Caleb Williams, not let him scramble. This feels like a very terrible spot for the Bears traveling to Minnesota. You talked about it, a place that has not been welcoming for them, and a game that the Vikings absolutely need.
Yeah, I think they absolutely have to have this game with the way the Bears, Packers, and Lions sit right now above them in the NFC North. Now what I think is maybe the game of the day, and that's the NFC West battle between both 7-2 teams, the Seahawks and Rams. This might set the stage for who potentially could be the number 1 seed in the NFC, who may win this division. The Rams are a 3-point favorite here. Total is 48.5. Rams are 3-1 at home. Their only loss coming to Seattle. Coming to San Francisco. But more importantly, Seattle 4-0 on the road this year. They've been really impressive. They're 7-1 against the number their last 8 games. They've gone over the total 4 of their last 5 games. They're 7-1 straight up in their last 8 games. However, they are only 1-8 against the number their last 9 games against the Rams.
Yeah, I circled this one up. Seattle has been the feel-good team. We saw them on a Sunday night go to Washington and absolutely destroy the Commanders. Late in that game, Jalen Daniels gets hurt, but Seattle was steamrolling there. Then they come home and they do the same thing to the Arizona Cardinals, jump out to, I believe it was a 35-0 halftime lead. Defensively scored 2 touchdowns on strip fumbles. But I caution you on the love for the Seattle Seahawks at this point in time. You talked about them being road warriors and being 4-0 on the road. Those road games were against Pittsburgh, Washington, Jacksonville, and Arizona. At home, they beat New Orleans, Arizona, and Houston. They lost to Tampa Bay, and they lost to San Francisco. So when we talk about those 7 wins that the Seattle Seahawks have had, they've not been against very good football teams. So this is their first, what I'll call, real test heading on the road against the Rams. Again, not a home field advantage that the Rams have down there in LA. Seattle will probably travel well, but going up against a different level of opponent, Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, look for the Rams to put an effort here. And this is a game that is for the West. We talked about the Rams going on the road to San Francisco last week, able to get the win on the road. Now they come home. They can take control of this division with a win here. Obviously, there's still a lot of football to play, but I just don't feel like Seattle has done enough to deserve the respect here of being only a 2.5 at some places to a 3-point favorite on the road at the Rams. The Rams are the better team here. Seattle's had a soft schedule that's made them look incredibly good. If they go and they win here on the Robes, I'll give them a chip and a little bit level of respect. But when I list the opponents that they've had, I'm not ready to turn this over to Seattle just yet.
The one thing for me with Seattle that's really been impressive is their defense. They've been so dominant on the defensive side of the ball. Darnold's played
against Arizona twice.
You still beat who's in front
Saints,
of you.
The Jaguars.
Let's see, the Bills just lost to the
Texans.
Dolphins. The Packers lost to the Panthers and Browns. So you still have to beat who's in front of you. This is a league that
New Orleans,
there's a lot of parity.
Jacksonville, Texans.
Like I said,
Arizona
we'll be here
twice.
Saturday at 8 o'clock. It's a great comedic routine. I think it is a really big game, but they will play one more time in Seattle. So it's a game that the Rams really need to hold serve here. They're a 3-point favorite. Now, I know we talked about the NFC West. I'm going to jump over to the AFC West now. This is a huge battle as well. It's between the 8-2 Denver Broncos, who host the 5-4 Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs come into this game a 4-point favorite, total 44.5. Denver is led more by their defense than anything else. Jay alluded to it earlier. Bo Nix has had some struggles this year. Broncos, though, are 5-0 at home this year, while the Chiefs are only 1-3 on the road. Kansas City is 5-2 against the number of their last 7 games. They've gone under, because of that defense, 4 of their last 5 games. However, they're just 1-6 against the number in their last 7 games against Denver. Total has gone under in 4 of Denver's last 5 games against KC. And Denver's a whopping 10-0 straight up in their last 10 games at home, dating back to last year. But this Chiefs team, this is a chance for them to beat one of the teams that's above them right now. This is a big game as both the Chargers and Broncos sit ahead of them in the AFC West. We'll see if Bo Nix can have any sort of success against this Chiefs offense at all on Sunday, where they're a home dog, although they've won 10 straight games in Mile High in Denver.
Yeah, and this opened up Kansas City a 3-point favorite, the early line. And then after Denver didn't look good against the Raiders, this game has now gone up to Kansas City 4. And shame on me, I don't have it in front of you. You have a lot of the great stats. But one of the things to look up here is Andy Reid and his record off of a bye week. Andy Reid does not lose football games off of bye weeks. The Chiefs have an incredible record off their bye week, and if you go back to even his days in Philadelphia, Andy Reid off bye week is a great record. And the big thing for me here at Denver, we saw 3 weeks ago Patrick Surtain, their exceptional cornerback, get hurt and out. Alex Singleton, their leading tackler, their best linebacker, their captain on defense, had testicular cancer surgery this week. He's going to be out for this game. So a huge loss for the Denver Broncos, both in Surtain and Singleton. I look for the Chiefs to take advantage of.
And as you said earlier, J.K. Dobbins.
Yep.
So now you lose Dobbins, so there's going to be a lot more, I think, put on the shoulders of Bo Nix to really kind of pass a lot. R.J. Harvey out of the backfield. Dobbins is the chain mover, and without him, I think a lot more is going to fall on Bo Nix.
Yeah, for me, it's the Alex Singleton being out for the Broncos. He's your captain on defense. He's your signal caller. Now you're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs off of a bye week, so they've had a couple weeks to look at your defense, to prepare how they punch holes in that defense, and no team does it better. Uses Schuster, uses Kelsey, uses those guys underneath, and now that he's got Worthy back and he's got Rice back, Patrick Mahomes is looking more Patrick Mahomes-like. He's not afraid to go into Denver. They've done it several times. Denver's hung around with them frequently over the last several years. I think Kansas City had a 7-game win streak against the Broncos, and then the Broncos have been able to win 2 of the last 3. One of those games was in a Week 18 when the Broncos weren't playing anybody, and I think the Broncos rolled them up. The Chiefs weren't playing anybody. The Broncos rolled them up 38-0. But the injuries on the defensive side of the football for the Broncos are real, and I look for the Chiefs to take advantage of those injuries.
It's a fun week because there really is some big games. We talked about the Bear-Viking game, a divisional matchup, the Seahawk-Ram game, divisional matchup, the Chief-Bronco game, divisional matchup, and then we get to Sunday night, which is a huge NFC showdown. This is between the Detroit Lions and the Philadelphia Eagles. Both these teams are hoping to be playing in February. They could be on that collision course. Lions are 6-3 atop the NFC North. Eagles are 7-2 atop the East. Eagles are 3-1 at home this year, while the Lions are only 3-2 on the road. So 2 of their losses have been on the road. But man, this is a monster showdown on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, and I don't know what to do here with the Lions because I only know how to handicap the Lions off of a loss. When the Lions lose, that's when you want to turn around and make a bet on the Lions. Week 1 loss to Green Bay, they destroy the Bears in Week 2. Week 6 loss to the Chiefs, they destroy Tampa Bay in Week 7. Week 9 loss to Minnesota, they destroy the Commanders in Week 10. So make your mental note, your check mark the next time the Lions lose a football game. Bet against them the week afterward. Dan Campbell doesn't like to lose, and Dan Campbell's not going to lose in 2 consecutive weeks. So they're not in a loss situation here. This is a very, very tough game. The one thing that I look ahead here from a Detroit Lions standpoint is they travel on the road to Philadelphia, and then they get to go spend some time at home. They play the Giants, then the Packers on Thanksgiving Day, and then Dallas. So a game here, a tough game on the road, and then they're going to get some home cooking for a little bit of time, especially that game against the Packers on Thanksgiving Day, where they can look to potentially wrap up the division from that standpoint if things go the right way. And obviously, it's a short week for the Eagles. The Monday night game in the freezing cold in Green Bay. Check the temperature of what it's going to be like in Philadelphia off the short week. We'll see if Hurts and company can get things going. Weren't able to get things going against the Packers. We've seen these games where it's a Barkley game, it's a passing game. They haven't really been the Super Bowl Eagles where we've seen Barkley, Brown, Devonta Smith put it all together. The Detroit Lions, in order to beat the Detroit Lions, you're going to have to be able to come with your A game on the ground, in the air, because we know we're going to see Goff, Gibbs, and St. Brown. They're going to be able to move the football. So look for that best Eagles team to be able to show up here. But this is a tight, tough game to pick.
really isn't it? As I said, it might set the stage. So who potentially could be the number 1 seed in the NFC? I know the Rams and Seahawks will have something to say about that as well. Now we're going to jump to Monday Night Football, a game in our own backyard. The Dallas Cowboys, 3-5-1, just 1-4 on the road though. Travel to Allegiant to play the Raiders, who are 2-7 and are looking up at 3 potential playoff teams in their own division. Raiders are just 1-3 at home this year. They've really had some struggles. 1-7 straight up in their last 8 games. 2-8 straight up in their last 10 games at home. 2-4 straight up in their last 6 games and playing at home against the Cowboys. So a lot of struggles here. We know the Cowboys don't play good defense. They've given up the 3rd most points in the league this year. They just can't stop anybody. Can this Raiders offense get it going a bit against the Cowboys on Monday night? Right now, it looks like the Cowboys are a 3.5-point favorite.
Yeah, and for me, there's the underlying storyline to this game with Marshawn Keeneland, the young man from the Dallas Cowboys that took his life during the bye week. And what is the response from his teammates? And is there an extra motivation to play a game in his honor? Obviously, we talk about the Raiders. Their playoff run is done. It's the Brock Bowers show. We traded Jacoby Myers during the bye week. So can Bowers be that guy that I don't know if it's Geno Smith or if maybe we can get a different quarterback to maybe find him. But Geno Smith really struggled in Denver, not able to get anything going on that offensive side of the football. We've seen Genti have a game here or there, not have a game. We talk about UNLV and what they're able to do on the defensive side of the football, and the Rebels make bad offenses look good and good offenses look great. The Dallas Cowboys have that same type of feel. They make good offenses look great, and they make bad offenses look good. Well, are the Raiders a bad offense, or are they even less than a bad offense? And the Cowboys did pick up Quentin Williams in the trade at the deadline. Maybe it's a week too late after suffering the Monday night loss to the Cardinals, but they still have Dak Prescott. You still have Devontae Adams. You still have George Pickens. You still have Ferguson, CeeDee Lamb. Yeah. They've got a ton of offensive weapons that got to scare the heck out of this Raiders secondary with these guys coming into town. Off the bye week, they're healthy. I just don't know that the Raiders have the tools in the shed to exploit a bad Cowboy defense. And I do feel like we're going to get an effort level from the Cowboys with the extenuating circumstances going on in that locker room, that we're going to get a best effort from the Dallas Cowboys in Vegas this week.
I think when you look at it too, being on a Monday night at Allegiant, there is going to be as much blue and silver as there is black and silver in the stadium. So you're going to get a huge contingent of Cowboy fans as well. So there's a lot of great games this week, Jay. It's going to be fun. One other thing, too, is don't forget, you can sign up for STN Sports, our mobile app. It really does bring the sports book to you. You can get signed up here at the El Cortez. We have up to that $50 no-worry wager going on. What that means is you make a $50 bet, you hit the no-worry wager button, up to $50, I should say. If you win, great. Congratulations. If you lose, guess what? We're giving you that $50 right back. So kind of a nice feature.
I'm locked into the match of the day. We didn't mention it on the app, STN Sports app. You've got that 10% bonus on the match of the day. Take advantage of it Saturday with Texas and Georgia. On Sunday, it'll be that Eagles-Lions matchup. Also, we don't get to talk about Canadian football enough, nor should we. But if you want to take advantage of the Grey Cup, 3 o'clock on Sunday, the Canadian Grey Cup, Montreal and Saskatchewan taking it on. And in New York this weekend, we've got a little UFC action. Madalena and Makhachev, a good matchup there. And so take advantage of this weekend, taking advantage of the card. Look at the Canadian football, look at the UFC. Again, we talk about NBA, college basketball, NHL, college basketball, massive matchups this week before they go into their kind of Thanksgiving tournaments. But take a look at the top 25 teams, a lot of matchups. I know this weekend we got Purdue and Alabama, and the Kentuckys and the Kansases and the North Carolinas, the Purdues, a lot going on in college basketball.
Yeah, it's been fun to be out here. I can't thank Joe and Kenny and Patrick and Sean enough for inviting us here to do our STN Sports Podcast bookends from the beautiful El Cortez. Again, it's wow. You walk in and it's some of the old, but a lot of the new, which makes it a lot of fun. It's definitely the jewel of downtown and fun to be here. Check out the Race and Sportsbook, all the renovations, the great restaurants. Hot nudes, as Jay liked to focus on a little earlier, but it is just a beautiful property, and we're excited that we're part of it here with STN Sports and the Sportsbook, and it's just been fun.
Yeah, hop off the 95 at Las Vegas Boulevard and turn on Ogden or turn on Fremont Street. Make your way down to 6th Street here. It's absolutely incredible. We said the renovation's impressive. Hot nudes, seagulls. Make the trek down here.
He can't stop saying that, but it is right in our face.
It's staring right in front of me. The logo is exceptional. Come down, get a picture of it. But like I said, the
I know what I'm getting for Christmas, a T-shirt from there.
It's absolutely fantastic, and we sit on top here in a unique stage environment on top of the ShowBar here. And so again, just another outstanding bar, great customer service, great drink specials. So take advantage. Come down to the El Cortez, see what we're talking about, and take advantage of everything going on here at the El Cortez.
So thanks again to the entire El Cortez team for having us down here. And for Jason, I'm Chucky, and for the Sports Betting Podcast Bookends, powered by as always, by STN Sports. Thank you guys. Good luck, and we'll see you next week on Bookends.